Apparently this is metal for framing up, for putting up this mesh outside. Here we go, the guys are hard at work on it. That should upset the sparrows. Good. And it's raining, which is going to make some people very happy, because people were getting very, very concerned about the possibility of a coming rice crop. We just need more of this, a lot more of this. It rained a little bit yesterday, and Jubaedah told me she was so relieved she cried. But whoa, okay, it's not like she's depending on the rice crop for her life like a lot of these other people are. So I can imagine others might get emotional today. So that explains what the background noise is when I come and talk about this thing. This is my little electric start petrol powered generator that we used to have as backup over at the house. Hasn't been started in a long time, so of course the battery's flat. And it's just too damn hard to pull start it. After about 3 pulls you're bushed. So I've lifted this up on my workbench at the end here. Now that thing dry weight is about 55 kilograms, and it's probably got 8 or 9 litres of petrol in it and half a litre of oil. So that's probably 60 kilograms as it stands there. I lifted that up there all by myself. But I'm not stupid. I have a chain hoist. So I used that and lifting strap. It was easy. So now what I'm going to do is open that cover and hook up a battery charger to it. Before I turn the battery charger on there, I thought I'd put the multimeter on it and see how many volts the battery had. And it said 1.5, so yeah. I don't know whether the battery charger is going to resurrect that or not, but I'll give it a day to try. This is a much smaller mesh, so little baskets won't get through that. This is good. There's that mesh up there. I don't know whether they were going through it or around it, but yeah, eventually we'll be keeping this little bugger out. Well, it's a day later and we're up to 4.5 volts. So, yeah, doesn't look that promising really. When we first came over here in November 2021, the router in the back airlock was terribly confused. We couldn't connect to it anyway we tried, and tried a factory reset on it, and of course then you connect to it using the default Wi-Fi password, and for some reason or other that label's been stripped off. So the only way to do it then was to connect to it using the LAN connection and the default username and password for getting in then. But unfortunately the notebook computer that I brought over does not have a LAN connection, so I wasn't able to do anything about it. But being a paranoid ex-sysadmin, I had a spare in the cupboard, which was properly pushed into service, and is still in service, working fine. But occasionally that one glitches, so I thought, okay, better see if I can resurrect this one. So I've just resurrected this one, and if the other one fails, we can just swap this one in. Just have to do an address change on it, enable DHCP, and all is good. So this is looking good. There's actually a sparrow trapped inside that earlier, and has now managed to get out, so it's not entirely closed off yet, so the opportunity still exists, but that's certainly going to prevent them getting up there to do nesting. And when that's extended all the way around, that'll stop them getting inside as well. I'll steal for this. I hate to think what this is costing me, but I really hate those sparrows being inside, so yeah, got to be done. I did something useful yesterday. That piece of masking tape there on the side of the cabinet marks the lower edge of that marks the level of the top of my head. Now you can understand if I was to bend over and use this water facility here and then come up with my head under that, I'm going to cop a corner in my head. I've done that too often. That hurts. So yesterday I sought to put some protection in place. I had a whole lot of really cheap tennis balls I'd bought at Kmart back in Australia years ago. I think it must have been 49 of them or some weird number. But yeah, so you cut a triangle out and get some silicone and stick it on the corner. So I've done that one. That corner of the range hood. That one over there didn't stick, the silicone didn't stick properly, so I've got to redo that one. That corner back there on that range hood, it's extremely unlikely I'll ever be over it in that corner, but that corner's dangerous. And that corner I have actually encountered when I'm bending over to get a bottle of water out of here. Stand up, ouch. And there are 3 more in other rooms that I've done also. So what I need to do now is cut another bore for that corner, then go over and get my silicone and stick that one on and re-stick that one. The bottom edge of those range hoods and those cupboards are all at 163 centimetres. Most people around here are under 160 centimetres tall. I'm 190, so I'm in danger. Yeah, should be much better now, he says, optimistically. It's temporarily moderately quiet and back on. The kids are all back at school after the end of year break, so it's only the sound of the rain and chattering women. I was going to go over to the shed and unlock a bit more so that these guys have more access for their work. And then I thought, no, I'll get wet. Then again, we do have umbrellas. So again, quite a lattice work up here of metal backing. I'm not sure whether it's going to get mesh on it, or somebody was talking about plafon, which I think is the polycarbonate plastic. Either way, it'll keep the sparrows out, which is the aim of the game. And I think we're up to a couple of $1,000 so far, so it's not cripplingly expensive. I've got a bit of a mystery problem with this stuff at the moment. When that automatic transfer switch is an automatic, it switches to the PLN supply, Publik Listrik Network, between 11 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock in the morning. At that point, at 9 o'clock in the morning, that timer to the right there disconnects the control lines for the PLN, so it switches across to the off-grid system. And this is all for the supply to the old switchboard there that supplies the AC units on the south side of the house and the lighting and the Indo power points and Lise's house. I switched that to PLN 11 o'clock at night to try and extend the time that I can run off batteries before we have to start the genset. Like today we didn't have to start the genset overnight because it had enough charge from yesterday to get through. But what I'm finding is that sometimes I come out here when this is supposed to be set to PLN and it's not. And that breaker up there on the meter is tripped across to the right. And if I switch it across to the left again to reconnect it, the automatic transfer switch says, oh good, and it will switch back to using PLN. So I don't know what the hell's happening there. It's not like we're drawing too much current for that breaker, because I've got a 16 amp breaker that supplies it from the new switchboard inside from the off-grid system, so it's never going to use more than 16 amps anyway. And that breaker there is a 32 amp breaker, which is more than we'd ever draw. Like typically this stuff draws maximum of about 1400 watts. So I don't know why that's tripping, whether it's just getting old and fragile or what. So I'm going to have a discussion with Azra about that. I'll need luck explaining this to him. His English is about as good as my Indonesian, so that's going to be a challenge. But yeah, it's a bit of a mystery why we'd be doing that. And as mentioned earlier, it's raining at the moment, so it's I just saw there that the timer said it's reached 9 o'clock, so it said switch across to off-grid, but I've set it to manual, so I've left it on PLN for now. You might have heard that thunder in the background. We've got bugger all solar input at the moment, so we're not going to charge up much if we are powering the AC units, as well as the other stuff that it normally powers off the power points. Fun. Of course, now that I have that set to manual, if the Publik network goes out for some reason, it's not going to switch the AC units and everything across to off-grid. I'll have to come back out here and switch it to automatic. Oh well, always something to think about here. There's another one that I haven't shown you previously. But I asked Jubaedah what people have been saying about them, and she said, oh, not much, but she's been laughing because when she sees the two over there, she's reminded of Scrat, the little animal in the Ice Age movies that is forever losing the walnut or acorn or whatever it is. So yeah, she gets a chuckle. But yeah, it mightn't be hugely securely attached, but it will be enough to protect my head. Even if I knock it off when I encounter it with my head, I can always stick it back on again. It's not like the ball's going to break. And there's been a new development on this front, which has told me something. Before I was wondering whether it was a problem with the automatic transfer switch or a problem with the breaker up there. With the automatic transfer switch set to manual and on PLN supply, that just means that that's the only thing that's going to be doing anything active, and that tripped out earlier today, so that breaker underneath the meter is what's going bad. So I'll talk to Azra about that and see about getting that replaced. Well, it's been raining a lot the last few days. It's not been sort of the cloudburster dumps that we frequently get here in the tropics when we get thunderstorms. It's been more of your persistent rain, so we might get 4 millimetres one day, 5 millimetres the next. We've had more than 10 millimetres so far today, so it's good soaking rain, which is better than a dump that's just going to run away. But due to the amount of time that since those seedling nurseries were planted, those seedlings apparently are no good anymore for planting out, from what Jubaedah says. So they're going to have to replant new nurseries and try again. Not out of the woods yet. The genset didn't have to run yesterday because it was fully charged the previous day, and well, the solar system with the batteries and everything was fully charged the previous day. But this thing's run twice today already because it's very dull. so the input from the solar panels is barely matching the consumption, and that's with the load from the old switchboard switched across to PLN, so it's only running fridges, dishwasher, cooking equipment and my computer. Yeah, so should check the fuel level, I guess. Still good for quite a few hours yet. And from installation it's run for 49 hours and 3 minutes. I should go and look up, see when a service is due, whether it's 50 hours or 250 hours. Well, I looked in the manual at the maintenance schedule, and depending on which model it is, it's either 500 hours or 1,000 hours. So given that we're just short of 50 hours, I don't think I'll worry about figuring out which model it is even. That can be far down the track. There's times like this that these guys like about 6 more arms, I think. Well, it's Friday. It's a nice fine sunny day, in huge contrast to yesterday. We had very little solar input yesterday, and as a consequence the genset started at least 6 times yesterday to try and increase the state of charge a bit. The way it's set up is if the system over here at the shed gets down to 25% state of charge, it starts the genset and runs it for a minimum of 30 minutes. Has to meet 2 conditions. It has to be at least 40% state of charge and have to run for 30 minutes. If it's not feeding power across to the house at the time, it will charge up to just short of 45% in that half hour. And at the house it's much more complex. Base rule is the same. If it's at 25% charge to 40%, so that's the base rule that operates overnight and all the rest of the time, except for during the day. I think it's probably about 11 AM if it's not up to 60%, start importing from the shed. The idea there is that the shed charges up faster because there's less load over there, and there's no point having it sitting there at 100% and lots of sunlight still available if the house is not well charged. So we import from the shed to the house to bring the charge up over there. That percentage target goes up, so at 1 o'clock it might be looking at say 70% charge that it wants, and below that we'll import. I think it ramps up to, at some stage during the day, if the house is not at 80%, it'll import from the shed. And I forget what the actual numbers are now, but it seems like we've got that fairly well tuned. But today, very sunny, so yes, the genset ran a couple of times this morning, overnight, but now the power is streaming in from the panels. The problem was exacerbated overnight by the fact that we had that faulty breaker on the PLN meter, so that was flicking off and switching all the load in the house across to the off-grid system, which means we're at about 2.1 kilowatts instead of about 700 watts. So that caused a few more starts overnight. So I'm going to follow up with Azra on getting that replaced, that faulty breaker. Meantime, I got a sparrow's nest over here I'm going to deal with. Well, apparently not just now, because I need to be able to get in there. You can see at the end of the track for the door over there, there is a nest. I was watching the net camera and seeing sparrows coming in and out the end of that door track over there. So need to evict the sparrows from there and then put something on the end to stop them going back in again. And we had over 50 millimetres of rain yesterday in total, so it was worthwhile being a dull day with that amount of rain. And that wasn't in a single downpour, which is the customary way. It was progressive through the day in several batches, so that one was soaked in nicely. If it wasn't so wet along this path, I would wander down and have a look and see whether the creek had come up enough to run, but nah, I don't think I care for wet feet at the moment. But people will be a bit happier out there gardening when there's a bit of rain, having watered the plants. This is garden's going up quite nicely now. Dadang hard at work over there in the red shirt. Well, it's Friday, so it's time to do another upload. I'm looking over there at Santa's passion fruit vine. I'm not sure that's going to be useful on the metal roof there, having fruit, because they're just going to sit up there entangled in the vine. And they're invading Nando's house. This is probably not well thought through. But anyway, yeah, time to do an upload.